Jai Hare Krishna. Before we begin this morning, I'm going to add a new feature and first explain to you how I work with the texts and purports with our particular software, which will explain why I'm adding this particular feature to our Zooms especially. The way that the software works is that you always have to add a title to a chapter. So I generally add text numbers to the pages, but to the section, I add an actual title of a theme. In other words, when I'm going through the texts, there are themes, people talking, people asking a question, someone explaining a particular feature. So let me see if I can show you how that looks. Everybody sees it in the table of contents. But what I want to show is this part here is what we'll actually be discussing today, lessons 2 and 3. So Lord Brahma is explaining Bhakti Yoga as the best means to attain self-realization, and those understanding your impersonal feature, and those fit for personal service. And obviously, as we go through the texts, you'll see that those two correspond to one another. So we're speaking about Bhakti Yoga as the best process of self-realization, which means automatically that it will prove itself better than any other method, such as meditation or yoga or mystic powers or anything else in the universe. And if one approaches the Lord in one of those other, in some other through some other process, then the personal relationship with the Lord will not be manifest. Something else will be manifest according to the approach. So I think it's a good idea to add the idea of what we'll be speaking on, the themes of what we'll be speaking on during our study, so we can keep that in mind. So that's the new addition. And without further ado, let us go on to the texts. Samapriya, can you, hold it. Let's see. Okay, so this is October 2024, only our second lesson, with lessons 2 and 3 from the table of contents. And Sama, can you please choose someone to read to start us off? You have to unmute.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Tisha, would you like to begin for us today? Yes, I'll take that as a yes.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So good to
Hi, nice to have you this week.
Yes, nice to have you back. We missed you.
see you. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14, text 3. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter, surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind. They can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable."
Unmute, Patti, unmute.
That's the verse itself. Now, Tisha, I think you can continue reading from Krishna book and note how Srila Prabhupada blends prose and his explanation of this into this paragraph.
Okay, Krishna book, text 3. The best process of understanding you is to submissively give up the speculative process and try to hear about you either from yourself, as you have given statements in the Bhagavad Gita and many similar Vedic literatures, or from a realized devotee who has taken shelter at your lotus feet. One has to hear from a devotee without speculation. One does not even need to change his worldly position. He simply has to hear your message. Although you are not understandable by the material senses, simply by hearing about you, one can gradually conquer the nescience of misunderstanding. By your own grace only, you become revealed to a devotee. You are unconquerable by any other means.
Oh, wonderful. I'd like to ask a question of everyone. There is aside from many, many reasons why this verse is very significant, can someone tell me one reason why this verse is very significant to us? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with Lord Chaitanya. Anyone know? Okay. Acharya, you don't know this one? How do you want to explain it?
Did no one look at the texts on the
Yeah.
online?
I do know because you mentioned it,
Right.
that
Okay.
in the discussions between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, and Mahaprabhu was asking what's the goal of life or the purpose of life, and Ramananda Roy was giving so many suggestions: karma, piety, knowledge. And Mahaprabhu kept on saying, this is external, this is external. But when Ramananda Roy gave this verse, today's verse, then for the first time, Mahaprabhu said, yes, this is the thing. And then he, of course, expanded so much from there, but that was the first one he accepted.
Good. Okay, so Tisha, you read this verse. What is the main reason why Lord Chaitanya accepted this? Yeah.
What is the main reason why Lord
Yeah.
Chaitanya
Why
accepted?
did Lord Chaitanya? There's many different aspects to this verse, and a few of them stick out really far.
I mean, I would say just because of surrendering and hearing and chanting the
Right.
About Krishna,
Right. Hearing from a pure devotee.
a pure devotee.
Yes, hearing from a pure devotee. And if we have that, then our pathway back to Godhead is secure. And of course, we know there's different ways to hear, and hearing also implies from the right source. You follow the instruction. You follow that. So this is a very important verse. Pratik, did you want to say something?
One of the unique features of this particular part of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that the first guru, Adi Guru, Lord Brahma, is the one speaking these verses. And it says in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Hridaya Adi Kavaye. He was the first person directly instructed by the Lord himself. So he's the beginning of the Parampara. This is the Brahma Sampradaya. And we're hearing him after his interaction with the Supreme Lord from the previous chapter, when he tried to steal the boys and the calves, and then the Lord's direct revelation to him of who and what he was dealing with. So his reaction, his prayers are filled with vigyan. He's actually realized this. He's seen it. He's experienced it. It's not that it's not a story he heard or something of this nature. And it's coming directly through a parampara, so we can understand that. It's so important that we hear from the correct person.
And,
because we're imperfect in this world.
And vigyan means realized knowledge.
Yeah.
Gyan means knowledge. And vigyan means knowledge that has been realized. There's a difference.
Krishna says, Tadvini prani patena paripashnena sevayo upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshana. He can impart knowledge because
he has seen the truth.
Thank you. Yes, he has seen it. He's experienced it. And therefore, he can tell you what it is. He can share that. He can impart it. Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture on this that I included in the texts.
Great.
But I also kind of minimized it and just want to play his rendition, his explanation of this verse. Huh. Come on.
This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam
Can you all hear it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
in Brahma's prayer to Krishna. The purport is that you should give up this bad habit of speculation. Jnana prayasam. Prayasam means endeavor. I shall get this knowledge by speculating. This is called jnana prayasam. Endeavoring uselessly for knowledge. So udapas, give it up. Jnane prayasam udapasa namantaya, just become submissive. Don't think yourself that you are very learned. Jnane prayasam udapasa namantaya, just become submissive. Do not think that you know by everything. That is your illusion, Maya. Because you cannot know everything. You may know something. That is not possible that you know everything. So you remain in your position, either in good or bad. It doesn't matter. But you do one thing. Tani sthita sutigatana tanuvana. You use your ear. That ear is bestowed upon everyone, either fool or learned. So use that ear. Sthane sthita sutigatan tanubang manohi, and hear attentively and mold your life as you hear from the realized soul. Sthane sthita sutigatan tanubang. One who remains like this, although he is imperfect fool, whatever he may be, he can conquer the Ajito. Ajito means God. Nobody can conquer him. But a devotee who sincerely hears about him from the realized soul, he can conquer even Ajito, Krishna.
I'd just like to ask everyone to please mute their microphones, please, if you're not speaking. Thank you. Pachi, did you want to say something?
No, maybe we can get somebody to speak on this part. Right? Let's see.
Oh, that's really a good one. Who would like to speak on this? Somebody say, oh, Cheta? Good. Thank you.
Chaita, you also wrote a nice forum on the first part about how we're so attached to speculating or trying to find empirically information.
Hare Krishna. Dandava pranams, dear devotees. Hearing it's so simple and it's so obvious, but it's terribly elusive to most to think that they need to hear from a realized soul. The tendency is to hear from so many different sources and become totally bewildered. Before you came up with the question, Sama, I was thinking there's two kinds of conquering that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. One is to conquer Lord Krishna, who's the unconquerable. And the second one is here in the Krishna book saying to conquer the nescience of misunderstanding. So that's pretty big and that's pretty consuming. And we get that misunderstanding because we hear from so many different sources and we believe them and we think, yeah, this person's really right on and has so much to offer me. But unless they're connected to Krishna and the Sampradaya, it's just so much misunderstanding and misguidance going on. So we need to hear, but hear from the right source.
Excellent. Thank you. Perfect. We could hear that statement over and over and over again.
What about molding your life according to what you hear? Tisha.
Oh, I was gonna, this is in line with that. I was watching this lecture by this young Swami, Srila Prabhupada Swami, and he was saying that in this day and age, we hear so much, hear, and it's like eating. If you just keep eating food and you don't take a minute you have to stop eating at some point and then chew. You have to chew the food. You have to think about what you're hearing, and then you have to digest. So if you equate hearing so much stuff, if you don't stop and chew on it and then digest it, then you're just hearing things and it's going just one in one ear and out the other, and that's not helpful either. So even if you're hearing from the right source, if you don't stop and think about it and digest it, then it doesn't help.
So can you give us an example? Perfect, exactly. So now how would that mold your life according to what you've heard, blend in with your example of digesting the food?
Right. So if you don't take action on these teachings and do what Prabhupada has asked us to do, then it's just useless. You're not going to get anywhere closer to conquering Krishna. Understand?
What would be an example of how you molded your life after hearing?
Personally,
Sure.
I mean, I changed everything about my life. I moved here to be with you all, with devotees. I'm sincerely trying to chant 16 rounds, but I'm not there yet.
But you go to different functions, you go to the readings, so many different things.
Yeah. See the deities every day, and I mean, yeah, I'm putting my effort.
Yeah.
Putting the effort.
Yes, exactly what it said to do.
Doing very good example. This is a perfect example of molding your life to achieve the goal of conquering Ajita. Excellent. Thank you so much, Tisha. Acharya, did you have something to say also?
Yeah, along those lines, I wanted to share Arjuna's very last words, his final verse in Bhagavad Gita. He says, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now free from doubt." And this is the part that really applies. "And I'm prepared to act according to your instructions."
Oh,
Beautiful.
perfection of hearing. The perfection of hearing.
So I thought that really applied nicely here.
Thank you. Perfect. Excellent. All right.
I wanted to add something on that.
Sure.
Next time, Bhakti Devi, raise your hand. Use the raise hand
Where is it?
option on your.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay. Just that way, you can get.
Oh,
It just
okay,
keeps everything
okay.
more organized. Thank you.
Stunning base. So, molding our life in such a way that we attract Krishna and hearing from the right source, spiritual master, all kind of gurus, but the result will appear over time. I experience, like when I first engaged in an activity, let's say daily worship, especially, that's something that I have to over time experience the discipline, the attraction, because Krishna have to give you signals so that you're doing the right thing and you follow the right path according to Archana's Vidhi, for example. If you engage in or other, like let's say Harinam, you go in a specific manner and you distribute the holy name, and initially it's a little forcible, but over time becomes
That's a good habit, to create something. And actually, Krishna likes to see that we're steady in our service. Steady. And it will change after you've been doing this for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 25 years, 35, 50 years, you're not going to be the same in your execution as you were in the beginning. Now, this is wonderful to unravel. Unravel. Beautiful. Good. Thank you. That was a good point. Okay. Does anyone else have something to say about this before we move on?
Now we'll hear Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on that same verse.
Okay. Ian, would you like to read this?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, 10.14.3, Brahma said, your devotees give up all endeavors for knowledge. They simply spend their time hearing your glories spoken to you and your pure devotees. Staying in their social positions, they do not travel around to holy places, territories rather. Without doing anything else, devotees pass their lives hearing topics about your name, qualities, and pastimes, and they offer all respects to these narrations with their bodies, minds, and words. They use their intelligence to grasp the meaning of the subjects heard. In this way, the pure devotees conquer you, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within 3 worlds. You are not conquered by those who attain liberation through jnana. Indeed, to attain liberation from the cycle of repeated birth and death merely by hearing about you is astonishing.
Really, right here. So, what do you think about that, Ian? The process of hearing.
Everything that's yes, and I remember that. So they give up all endeavors for knowledge. So just whilst most of us will be seeking knowledge, well, knowledge that devotees will be involved in knowledge of the absolute truth. So as so we engage in hearing, chanting, remembering, the 9 processes, any of the 9 processes. Yes. So just knowledge for knowledge's sake. Devotees not being involved, not for for
Hearing and chanting seem to be the things stressed here.
Yes. Basically, yes. Yeah.
Good. Anything else? Anyone? Thank you, Ian. Cheta.
I thought it was interesting that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that traveling to holy tirthas is not necessary. Really interesting point. I always thought that it's essential because didn't Prabhupada say it's good for us to go to Vrindavan at least once a year? I mean, that's never been possible for me, but it's reassuring to know that if I just hear and chant, I'm good to go.
Okay. Thank you. Wait, let's see what Acharya has to say. Ian, think of that question that Cheta just asked, because I want to know what you think about that too. Not having to travel to the tirthas. Acharya?
Yeah, about
Yes, I looked at it because
Wait until Acharya is finished. Wait until Acharya is finished, and then you answer. Okay, Acharya.
Yeah, about that point about going on not going on pilgrimage. That's an alternate interpretation of the Sanskrit stanestita that more than one acharya actually brings up that point. That stanestita, some of them say it means remain in your social position within varnashram, and some of them say it means don't go on pilgrimage, just find a sadhu and stay there and hear from them. So that's where that comes from. But also, I think in the comments of different acharyas, there's a lot of this where it almost reminds me of the Atmaram verse, where every word has different meanings. And so with this verse also, the acharyas do that. They say stanestita means this, or it means that, or jivanti means this or that. So there's a lot of that really nice, analysis and varied analysis going on. And that's just one of them, that the dual meaning of stanestita.
Acharya, since you use it so nicely, can you help Bhakti Devi on our screen? Where is the raise hand option?
Oh, she found
Oh,
it.
she got it. Okay. She put
Okay.
a note up before she couldn't see it, and then I saw her hand.
Okay, let's stay on this topic for one more second. Ian, what else do you think this very important point is about not having to go on pilgrimage, but remaining in one's position to execute devotional service?
Okay, it might not be possible or practical to go on pilgrimage, but by hearing and chanting, associating with devotees, if you're near a temple, but for me, I do online, but for those who visit temple, worship with deities, it's Srimad Bhagavatam and so on, observe the various festivals. So, what it is, maybe in some ages, or maybe for some persons, it'd be easier practical for them to go to a theater or theaters. But it might not be possible for everybody, but that does not say then you will not engage in other methods.
Good,
Be engaged in devotional service too.
good.
Yes.
And also, what is the Yuga Dharma? What is the Yuga Dharma in this age for achieving?
Chanting of the holy name.
Yeah, chanting the holy name. Okay,
Yes.
so that's a very simple system.
Yeah.
And that's what Prabhupada came to America to give us. He came, okay, everyone mute for now. Prabhupada came to show, I heard him say this on a tape the other day. He even said, if you're not living at a temple, if you cannot go to a temple, you go and get trained up there, and then you know how to perform devotional service. And you do it in your home. He said that if you worship the deity, which means offering your food to the deity and having artik, having kirtan, reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, you can achieve the highest goal of human life by just doing these things. Everyone is different. We have to, so this process can be executed anywhere in the desert, for goodness sake, or in Antarctica. So everyone has to go within their own hearts, get trained up, understand what is to do. And if we're in a situation where we're not living at a temple, then we become self-sufficient in that area. Many devotees out there. So we have to encourage everyone to take this process up. This is the process, the Yuga Dharma, this process. Acharya, did you want to say something else about this?
No, nothing else right now.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go on with the next person. Is this next slide? Mamantaraji, would you like to read? Where's Mamantaraji? Yeah, she's here.
Krishna Book, Text 4. Speculative knowledge without any trace of devotional service is simply a useless waste of time in search for you, referring to Krishna. Brahma speaking. Devotional service is so important that even a little attempt can raise one to the highest perfectional platform. One should not, therefore, neglect this auspicious process of devotional service and take to the speculative method. By the speculative method, one may gain partial knowledge of your cosmic manifestation, but it is not possible to understand you, the origin of everything. The attempt of persons who are interested only in speculative knowledge is simply wasted labor, like the labor of a person who attempts to gain something by beating the empty husk of a rice paddy. A little quantity of paddy can be husked by the grinding wheel, and one can gain some grains of rice. But if the skin of the paddy is already beaten by the grinding wheel, there is no further gain in beating the husk. It is simply useless labor.
Wow. This fascinated us so much that we had to do some research on the internet, the process of taking the grain out of the husk in modern days. You know, I've never seen it. So what do you got to say about this this section, Mamantara?
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear about that process of husking the rice.
Well, yeah. Sure.
So it just reminds me of what we talked about last week, or it was mentioned last week, about artificial intelligence and speculation. There's so much information that can be gained, but if it's not gained from the right authority, then it's not helpful.
Perfect. That's putting it. That's unmute, Pat. Unmute.
I like the way Prabhupada said pretty much the same thing here. He said, by the speculative method, one may gain partial knowledge of your cosmic manifestation, but it is not possible to understand you, the origin of everything. Why not?
Because it's impersonal. It's not knowing the person.
Very
It's,
good.
it's knowing, like, the effulgence being the not the person. It's like the sunshine and not the sun, the personality of the sun.
Good.
Good. Very good.
Also, Krishna is the ultimate controller of who will know him. And he won't allow them to know it.
Right.
He won't give that information will not be revealed, no matter how intelligent or how long one spends. That's in the Brahma Samhita. It said one may travel at the speed of the mind for millions of years, but still he won't understand who is Krishna. It has to descend.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Bhakti?
I would say, like, yeah, a little question. That means the only way to approach, and talking about pure devotees, is about approaching Krishna with a devotion, with love, with an attitude. There is an attitude process. How to attract submission. Yeah.
Submission. Good. That's very true. You cannot be puffed up approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, I mean, if you really understand his position and our position, how could you possibly come? He can squish us out. Hati?
There's still amongst some people confusion about how we're doing this, but I put in this particular slides, you'll see the image of Krishna book or Sarartha Darshini to emphasize how we're doing this. We're actually studying two books side by side. We're reading from Krishna book, the prose version of a verse and its purport, and then from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's book, we're reading the actual verse and purport the way he's written it, just to be clear about how all the information is being designed.
Okay. Very good.
Acharya?
Yeah, could you go back to the last reading, please? That line is great. You also mentioned it that starts by the speculative method. When I was studying for this, I read the commentary of another Acharya, Srinath Chakravarti, who's another important commentator. And he said this, but he applied it specifically to Lord Brahma. And he said, Lord Brahma, we know the story from the second canto, how he was bewildered at the beginning of the creation. And Krishna spoke Chatushloki Bhagavatam to him. And he said that was a transmission of knowledge. And just like that verse says, it gave him some understanding of the cosmic situation and enabled him to do his service, but it didn't prepare him to understand Krishna in Vrindavan. So he said that this specifically is, Brahma is saying this out of his own personal experience.
That's point of view.
But also, one has to, there's an order. One has to qualify himself to be able to understand Krishna's in personal form and his activities in Vrindavan. We have to purify our existence.
Yeah, absolutely. In that sense, that first instruction was part of that gradual process, which is attaining more fruition here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just thought that was a nice analysis, and it matched nicely with Prabhupada's words here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wonder if Prabhupada referred to that commentary in his.
It's in the big commentary book, but I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Okay, let's go on now with Acharya. Would you like to read this?
Yes, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-4. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve his desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain, one who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only gain is trouble. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. One can achieve success by performing any one of the methods of bhakti, such as hearing and chanting. Then the Singha Purana confirms this. Quote, since one can easily attain the original personality of Godhead by worshiping him with devotion using leaves, flowers, fruits, and water, which are freely available, why does one need to endeavor for liberation separately? Unquote. Though this is true, those who reject bhakti and pursue the path of speculative knowledge, gyan, only gain trouble and botheration. This is the intention of the verse. Sridhar Swami says that jnana is a dry path, whereas bhakti is a cool stream flowing like a river of honey. The word shreya, supreme benefit, also refers to all the fruits of all other processes such as karma and jnana. The path of bhakti gives all these fruits and thus is called shreya shritim, the path of supreme benefit. The jnanis who reject the path of auspiciousness get only suffering. It is like beating a huge pile of empty husks of rice. The result of the effort is pain in the hands and no rice.
Yeah, well, okay, so explain that.
Explain it. It's pretty straightforward. I don't know what to say. That whatever you can gain from any other process is automatically gained by bhakti. And if you want the highest thing in life, then going through any other path but bhakti is a waste of time. You only get trouble, but you don't get the goal of bhakti.
How about this concept? I came across a, have you ever heard of this festival called Bhakti Fest? They have it in Joshua Tree, California. And a whole bunch of people from a lot of different groups get together and they chant all different kinds of mantras. It's in like 110 degree weather. It's not a very beautiful place. So I asked one of the participants, why have a Bhakti Fest in a place where it's hard physically? And the answer was, well, if you make it difficult on your body, you make it a little bit tapasya, yeah, it's hard to get there, it's hard to live there, then it helps you focus more on your bhakti. So my question is, are there activities such as karma and gyan that one can engage in to enhance their bhakti?
That's not really, as far as my understanding, that we don't really accept that. Just like what said, Aruya Kritrena Parampadam Tata, right?
Yeah.
That you undergo great hardships, but you don't get the goal. And in that connection, I'll also tell a very brief personal story. Long, long ago in a previous yuga, I was on traveling Sankirtan during the Christmas marathon. And our team leader was His Holiness Naranjana Swami. Maybe he wasn't a Swami at the time, I can't remember. But he was, every day when we came back, he would cook on little electric burner in a hotel room, and he'd cook really nice prasad for us. And during the day, he would run from parking lot to parking lot in the van, checking on us, do we need a hot drink? Do we need some food? Are we okay? And I actually told him once, I said, oh, we're okay. You don't have to, go to such trouble to make things easier for us or to help us. And he said something that's always stuck with me. He said, just doing devotional service automatically contains all of the austerity you need to do. You don't need to artificially increase it or artificially add austerities to it.
Excellent.
That's true.
So that always stuck with me.
Which would indicate that there is austerity that we perform. No one who's engaged in this devotional service can say that there's no austerity. There, especially in the old days with Sankirtan and making so much endeavor to try to establish this movement for Prabhupada. There is austerity. But did you want to say?
As we're speaking, I'm remembering that example. I think it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita where the mother cleans the baby when it passes stool. And that's austerity, but because of her love, it's pleasantly done. It's not like that because of
But
love.
it's
So
not that it's
love makes difficulties easy.
good, perfect. I mean, it's not that we don't perform austerity. And in fact, the person who said that to my good husband was a devotee her whole life, our daughter. She went and she said, this is only a devotee could think like that, really. That in order to realize a higher consciousness, you have to sacrifice your comforts in this world. You have to sacrifice your attachment to the way things would go in a perfect materialistic society. This is we must make these, and engaging devotional service calls for that. It really does. It calls for that. Follow the principles. Only prasadam, chanting at least 16 rounds, and that's not easy for a lot of people. You have to cultivate it. It gets easier. Let me just say it gets easier because you cultivate it. Anything can be cultivated. Bad nature or good nature, anything. So if you cultivate very consciously, I'm going to chant 16 rounds, and then you go up to 20, and then you go. I mean, you do that. It takes 50 years, but it will definitely attach us to Krishna's lotus feet. Another thing I wanted to say about this: notice throughout these readings how much when it says devotional service should be performed, like hearing and chanting. So hearing and chanting are the foundational devotional pivots for us, for all. This is the Shravanam Kirtanam. That's the essence of our developing our faith, really. Okay.
Can I
so
mention one other small
Yes,
thing from this
please do. Yes.
purport? I really enjoyed the mention of Srila Sridhar Swami in Vishwanath Chakravarti's comment. And I was remembering how in the CC, Mahaprabhu was criticizing Vallabhacharya, was it?
Yes.
Who wanted to make a Bhagavatam commentary separate from Sridhar Swami. And Mahaprabhu kind of insulted him. And in this instance, and actually many of the commentaries of different acharyas, they're always referring back to Sridhar Swami. In fact, some of them will just say, in their commentary, they'll just say, here's what Sridhar Swami said, and just quote his commentary again. So I like that. I appreciated that.
He's the authority.
mention of
He's the
Sridhar
authority.
Swami there.
Just like we say, well, Prabhupada said.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's it. You have to have the authority. Otherwise, you don't know what to do. And that's the problem in the material world. Nobody wants an authority. I'm free to do whatever I want. And you're free to suffer the reaction of your misdeeds also. So very good. Excellent point.
That was the joke that Mahaprabhu made. He said, Sridhar Swami is the Swami. So Swami means the
Master.
Swami, and Swami also means husband.
Husband.
So he says that person who neglects their Swami, I consider to be a prostitute.
Hare Krishna.
So just like someone who neglects their husband and goes somewhere else as a prostitute, so also don't neglect the commentary.
Goes vice
about
versa.
Swami.
All right. Let's
Sama?
go on. And
Yeah, we have to,
we're going to go on real quick now.
no, we don't have to go quickly,
not
but
quick.
you're spending too much time on each slide.
I'm sorry. Because we've been reading this all week, getting into it. I'm sorry, we're going to go quick. Okay, Bhakti, why don't you read this next verse?
Krishna book text 5. My dear Lord, there are many instances in the history of human society where a person, after failing to achieve the transcendental platform, engaged himself in devotional service within his body, mind, and words, and thus attained the highest perfectional stage of entering into your abode. The processes of understanding you by speculation or mystic meditation are all useless without devotional service. One should therefore engage himself in your devotional service, even in his worldly activities, and one should always keep himself near you by the process of hearing and chanting your transcendental glories. Simply by seeing attached to hearing and chanting your glories, one can attain the highest perfectional stage of entering into your kingdom. If a person therefore always keeps in touch with you by hearing and chanting your glories and offers the results of his work for your satisfaction only, he very easily and happily attains entrance into the supreme abode. You are realizable by persons who have cleansed their hearts of all contamination. This cleansing of the heart is made possible by chanting and hearing the glories of your lordship.
Very good. Notice how many times hearing and chanting were referred to in that. You have something else to say? Why don't you answer this?
Because without the hearing and chanting, with the hearing and chanting, all other processes sounds like much easier. And in Kali Yuga, this is the first recommendation by Srila Prabhupada, that when the chanting process is the most important first, right?
Very good. Excellent. What about devotional service and worldly activities? We were discussing this before.
We discussed already. What I understand is like all the activities in our life, like our daily life. Suppose when somebody goes to an office or you perform his duties, his prescribed duty, you have to offer the result of his activities to God, to Krishna. I'm doing that to please you. I'm doing that to please, yes, my family, but ultimately, who is the doer? Who is the
enjoyer?
The enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer. Yeah.
Good. That's good. Excellent for that. Does anyone else? I think we have to go on, but that's a very important point. Devotional service performed in worldly activities and reading and chanting, hearing and chanting. Okay, thank you, Bhakti. That was good. Let's go on now. Madhurya Leela, would you like to read? Let's see if Madhurya is still with us. Madhurya ji.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just listening today.
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Why don't you read this for us?
I think she said she's just hearing today.
Oh, is that what she said? I'm sorry. Okay. Faye.
Yeah, I've got too much going on. I can't. I'm sorry.
Okay, darling. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Okay, thank you. Faye, why don't you read this?
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14.5. O Almighty Lord, in the past many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service by offering all their endeavors unto you and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. Through such devotional service, perfected by the processes of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O infallible one. and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. Commentary by Thakur. In the previous two verses, Brahma used negative and positive statements to establish that devotional service is the means of attaining the Lord. The present verse describes the primary activities of bhakti, namely hearing and chanting about Krishna. Brahma said, "O Almighty Lord, in this world there are many who practice bhakti and offer their activities to you, engaging all their senses in works of devotion. Being fully absorbed in bhakti with faith, disregarding varnashram, they engage in hearing and chanting only about you. By the prima bhakti, which arises from hearing and chanting, they realize your form, qualities, and pastimes, and thus attain your eternal association in the spiritual world." This verse can also be taken as a rejection of the yoga process after having rejected Gyan in the previous verses. By practicing yoga for a long time, one may come to the platform of devotional service and attain firm devotion at the lotus feet of Krishna.
Whoa. So there's all the answers. How can you explain that? That this is actually more of the further explanation about the process of engaging one's activities with the pleasure of Krishna through the process of hearing and chanting or performing devotional service. How does that link together?
If yoga is linking up to God, and bhakti yoga, we've been told, is the most direct path, Gyan and karma yoga doesn't get you very far. But in mathematics and simple school geometry, I'd like to think of bhakti yoga for a moment comparable to this analogy. The most direct path anywhere, the distance from getting from A to B. How do you do it? A straight line.
Okay,
A straight line is the best way to get from point A to point B most effectively. Bhakti yoga is that straight line. That is the most direct path given to us, and the simplest one that is most easily done by anybody in Kali Yuga today. Hold on to that chanting, hold on to the hearing, and in this group we are holding on to another essential thing: association with other devotees. So that's what my take is on it, although my understanding is very limited. I'm not a senior devotee. I'm a newbie. I'm a very newbie, but I know that I want to get to the goal. The goal is back to Godhead, back to Krishna. And the only way I can do it is to try to hold on to getting along that straight line, that path. Thank you, Mother Sati. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. As far as newbie goes, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, okay, here we go again. So in Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, Prahlad Maharaj is considered a new devotee. So, okay, you're not the only newbie. We're just starting to wake up here and just pray to Prabhupada, who is definitely not a newbie. He is a Vaikuntha man. He directly came to pull us out of this. Thank you so much, Faye. You did wonderfully. Thank you. Acharya, did you want to say something?
Just briefly, that I love you bringing up Prahlad in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And not only is he a new devotee, but he's actually praised for being a pure devotee, because it means, you had to overcome so much to come to this stage. You weren't
Yeah.
a Nitya Siddha. So not only he's new, but he's praised for being a so-called new devotee.
Yeah, and we don't. It's nice to know that it's recognized, because it's a real, like when the soul goes back to the spiritual world, Krishna's soul, we get the hug. Krishna hugs us because he knows what we had to go through to get out of this material world. It's endeavor. It is austerity and it's endeavor. But if you want to stay in here, it's also austerity and endeavor. May as well use our austerity and endeavor for eternal bliss and knowledge at Krishna's lotus feet. Jai Haribol Haribol. We're ready. We're waiting online. Okay, Neil, why don't you read the next verse? The next one. Would you like to read, Neil?
Yeah, good morning, all.
Good morning.
The Lord is all prevailing, as as it is stated by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is sustained by me, but at the same time, I am not of everything. Since the Lord is all pervading, there is nothing existing without his knowledge. The all-pervasive nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be within the limited knowledge of a living entity. Therefore, a person who has attained steadiness of the mind by fixing the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord is able to understand the Supreme Lord to some extent. It is the business of the mind to wander over various subject matter of sincere gratification.
That's gratification.
Sense gratification. Therefore, only a person who always engages the senses in the service of the Lord can control the mind and be fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. This concentration of the mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord is called
Samadhi.
Samadhi. Until one reaches the stage of samadhi or trance, he cannot understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay. I want to ask you one question, Neil.
Yes.
This all-pervasive knowledge and all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord, do you find that a secure place to take shelter of? All-pervasive knowledge,
yeah,
and all-pervasive energy of the Supreme Lord. You want to take shelter of that?
That's the shelter. That's the spot to be. That's the spot to strive for.
Okay, good. Just because I don't really know you, but
no.
If you're associated with Faye, I know you have an earful of all of this. That's for sure. Right?
We talk often.
Yeah. Well, and she's a good teacher. She is. She's always been a good teacher. And now she has the perfect subject matter to teach. Okay, good. So you know that this all-pervasive knowledge is secure to take shelter of.
It just feels right.
It does feel right.
Feels right.
Better than taking shelter of knowledge that is not so firm. Why do that, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Let's go on with Chaita, my darling. Would you like to read a couple of these slides? Thank you, Neil and Faye.
Haribol, Dandava Pranams, everyone. I'm appreciating in the purport, it was saying that the mind has this tendency to wander over all material objects, searching for sensual pleasure. That was brilliantly put. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-6. Non-devotees, however, cannot realize you in your full personal feature. Nevertheless, it may be possible for them to realize your expansion as the impersonal Supreme by cultivating direct perception of the self within the heart. But they can do this only by purifying their mind and senses of all conceptions of material distinctions and all attachment to material sense objects. Only in this way will your impersonal feature manifest itself to them.
All right, go on with the next. Patsy, no one can hear you.
No, in this verse, there was no purport. So what I'd rather do, rather than going on to the next verse, because this is number 6, this is Srila Prabhupada's explanation of that verse. So Chetta, maybe you can discuss a little bit about what this verse means. You just read it. So here's Prabhupada's purport on it. Samapriya interpreted it a little bit differently than Prabhupada's than the verse itself. Is that because Prabhupada presented something different, or what's being said here? Because this is talking about non-devotees cannot understand your personal feature. Nevertheless, they can understand the impersonal supreme by cultivating direct perception of the self within the heart. Your expansion is the impersonal. So what is going on there?
Chaita, that's you.
Hare Krishna. Wow. Well, I'd have to read this purport now to understand the difference.
You want to read it again?
Okay, I can comment on the verse alone, if that makes sense, or I can read the purport. And then
Since Prabhupada, this is the verse and the purport, the way he's presenting it in Krishna book. So it's interesting to try and find the blend.
Okay, maybe the blend is based on the process of purifying the mind and senses. So that's the process. That's mandatory. But I guess the question, when you read this verse, you say, how do these non-devotees do that? How do they purify their mind and senses from material distinctions? How do they release themselves from all attachment to material sense objects? I mean, it's a great project, but how do you pull it off? And Prabhupada perhaps is saying the only way you're actually going to be successful in pulling this off is to always engage the mind and senses in the service of the Lord.
Yeah, it's far out. They have to, in order to achieve the impersonal realization,
yeah,
they have to engage devotional service.
And
there's no way around it.
No way around it. And yet still come out impersonal. Because yes, Bhakti.
Yeah, from that perspective, I can hear from my personal experience. I was in persons before, like a lot of us were, but how you pull out, there is no satisfaction in the material world. You have to pull out because you can't. You can try, become like some important person, but in the end, is any happiness? So we have to, that insatisfaction itself leads to find the perfect,
Yeah, it has to be personal. Love. There's no love.
There's no love. There's no attraction. There is no object of worship. There is nothing. It's like an empty net, an empty thing.
Yeah. All right, good.
Thank you, Bhakti. That was really helpful.
You want to okay. Is that okay, Patsy? Do you want to continue on to this, or should you read the next slide?
She can read the next slide then if you want to go on.
Okay, yeah, let's go on. Now, is this slide? Okay,
This is text 7. It's the next one. And then the slide after that is Suratha Darshini. I'm always putting Krishna book first with Prabhupada's
so you read
explanation.
both. You read. Okay, so you're getting to read a lot because you're a professional anyway. So read both of these slides.
Oh,
But Chaita.
Myself? Oh, thank you. You're very kind. Krishna book text 7. There may be some philosophers or scientists who can study the cosmic nature from atom to atom. They may be so advanced that they can count the atomic composition of the cosmic atmosphere, or all the planets and stars in the sky, or even the shining molecular particles of the sun or of the stars and other luminaries in the sky. But it is not possible to count the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. Shall I read the commentary? Okay. This is a different wording. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? Commentary. You possess unlimited eternal qualities that arise from your spiritual form. This is confirmed in the scripture known as Brahmatarka. The Lord possesses qualities which arise from his Svarup, personal form. Brahma said, but who can count these qualities? No one can. The avatars, such as Sankarshan, who descended on earth to extinguish the suffering of the world, actually have counted the number of atoms on the earth. This is amazing. They actually have counted the number of atoms on the earth, the snowflakes, and even the particles of sunlight. Yet, even such a personality as Sankarshan, who has been continuously chanting Krishna's glories since time immemorial, cannot come to the end of enumerating those glories. Wow. So this is reminding me of the section in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about Sankhya Yoga, and that Sankhya and devotional service are actually the same thing. They're going in that direction. But Sankhya Yoga, as propounded by the atheist, is simply a process of counting. But the difference between the impersonal and personal Sankhya Yogas is that Sankhya Yoga recognizes that there is a personality behind all of this. And therefore, if you're going to do the counting, and it looks like the avatars have already done it, which was a big surprise to me, that you're going to reach the same conclusion, which is that you need to keep your eye on Krishna and allow him to design your path.
Good. It looks like Nanda wants to say something. Nandaji, thank you, Chita.
Hare Krishna.
Let's see what she can add to it.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to add that in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, in the story of Lord Nrsingadev killing Hiranyakashipu, right after the Lord kills Hiranyakashipu, he sits on Hiranyakashipu's throne. In the purport there, I'm sorry I don't have the verse number, but in the purport to that verse, Prabhupada says that Krishna was very happy to sit on Hiranyakashipu's throne because he saw him as his devotee. He didn't see him as Hiranyakashipu. He saw him as his servitor. And then he says, and this is relation to what we just read, that Krishna has innumerable qualities because there are innumerable living entities. And all the innumerable living entities are attracted to Krishna in different ways than the other people.
Nice.
Wonderful.
They are attracted to him in different ways and in different mellows and stuff. So Krishna has innumerable qualities. And since the number of living entities are innumerable, and since his qualities are innumerable, it all fits together. Hare Krishna.
Nice.
That's great. Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's another plus for personalism. We're allowed to be different. In fact, we better be different.
Oh,
Because Krishna doesn't do what Nandaji?
well, when you said that, that reminded me of another point regarding impersonalism. Impersonalism is a bona fide step in the right
Right.
direction. It is a
Yes.
bona fide realization, and there is pleasure there, but it's not the unlimited Bhagavan, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. It's not the unlimited pleasure from personalism, because personalism is the best. Hare Krishna.
Okay. And the impersonalism is, I forgot what I was going to say, but you got it. It's not going to fill us. It's not going to fill us.
Yeah.
But the impersonalism helps us to become detached from the material world. That's what it is. That's the basic foundation. When you're an impersonalist, a realized impersonalist, you understand that this material world is not real, and that's what you progress from there. Thank you, Nanda. Would you like to read the next verse since you're with us now?
It's not engagement.
Sure.
Thank you, Chita. That was wonderful contribution. Thank you, sweetie.
Jai
Uh,
Gurudev.
Okay, so this is a very important verse, Krishna book, text 8. Therefore, an intelligent man does not try to understand the absolute truth by speculative or mystic power. Rather, he engages in devotional service and depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows that whatever may happen to his body is due to his past fruitive activities. If one lives such a simple life in devotional service, then automatically he inherits the transcendental abode of the Lord. Actually, every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and a son of the Godhead. Each has the natural right to inherit and share the transcendental pleasures of the Lord, but due to the contact of matter, conditioned living entities have been practically disinherited. If one adopts the simple method of engaging himself in devotional service, automatically he becomes eligible to be freed from the material contamination and elevated to the transcendental position of associating with the Supreme Lord.
Well, of course, this is based on this upcoming verse, which, since you have not been with us the whole time, please read it, Nanda.
Okay. This is 10:14:8.
You can all say it. You can all say it together.
Nukam
Sushumano. Don't mind you leading.
Vivatma kritam vipakam.
This is definitely one of those verses that are worth memorizing. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. And the commentary, this is, okay, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Now that Brahma has rejected other processes and accepted bhakti as the means to attain Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the process of bhakti is described. A devotee understands that the happiness and distress he undergoes due to performing bhakti and committing aparads are special mercy from the Lord. I'm just reading that again because I need to hear it. A devotee understands that the happiness and distress he undergoes due to performing bhakti and committing aparads are the special mercy from the Lord. It is like the father who sometimes makes his child drink milk and sometimes makes him drink bitter neem juice. Sometimes the father embraces and kisses his son, and other times he beats him. The devotee accepts whatever happens to him as the arrangement of the Lord acting for his benefit. The devotee thinks, the Lord certainly knows what is best for me, even if I don't know. Karma and time have no effect on a devotee. So this is Krishna's personal arrangement for me. Out of his mercy, Krishna, that's all I see. I don't know if there's a little bit more, but I don't see any more. Oh, thank you. Krishna, thank you. Krishna sometimes gives me happiness and sometimes gives me distress, considering how to engage me in his service. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vishwanath Chakravarti Ki Jai.
Tama, did everybody read?
Everybody read.
So Nanda, read the last one since it keeps going with the same purport.
Okay, thanks. Commentary continued. The person who spends his life offering respects with body, mind, and words to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, like Prithu Maharaj, while tolerating the suffering of austerities or other hardships, becomes the recipient of two results: liberation from material bondage and service to the Lord. As the inheritance from the Father maintains the life of the Son, so the attainment of liberation and service to the Lord maintains the life of the devotees. Thus, while living in this world, the devotee remains fixed on the path of devotion. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-17 says, only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actually alive. Otherwise, their breathing is like that of a bellows. One's life becomes successful by serving Krishna with devotion. Otherwise, the body is just like a bellows, inhaling and exhaling air. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pati, why don't you, yeah. Nanda, do you see these next to these three?
Yes.
Why don't you read that and explain the essence of this?
Okay. Earnestly awaits for you to bestow your causeless mercy on him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and bodies. So the very first thing that I want to say is this: one can't come to this level of understanding unless there's repeated hearing and chanting. Because unless you hear about how we're not our body, unless I hear how I'm part and parcel of Krishna, unless I hear about karma and reactions and aparads, reactions, etc., then you can't put all those puzzle pieces together to come out with this perfectly humble understanding that whatever happens to me, good or bad, I deserve worse. The good things, Krishna is giving me good things. I don't deserve them because I've done so many millions and millions of births of pious and sinful activities. I don't really deserve, but Krishna is so kind. He's giving me something nice. And when something bad happens, you can't just, it's not just a question of, what's it called? Self-deprecation, thinking, oh, I'm so low, I'm so bad, I'm so fall. No, but we understand we're so low, we're so fallen because we've been here for millions and millions of births, millions of Brahmas, millions of days of, anyway, a long time. And therefore, Krishna's just giving us a little token. He's taken our karma. They said one of the things that karma and something else have no effect. In time. Karma. Yeah, thank you. Karma and time have no effect on the devotees. And you think, well, how is that? No, because we're not getting what, quote unquote, what we really deserve. We're getting Krishna's mercy. So in order to come to this understanding, we need to continually hear, or else the pieces don't fit together nice.
So when you said that about karma and time, we are getting some things that are not so palatable, perhaps.
Oh, for sure.
Not perhaps, definitely. But this is Krishna's mercy. This is Krishna's mercy. We have a god sister who went through a tragedy a couple of years ago. All she said is Krishna's mercy. It is all Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's mercy, and it was so wonderful to see someone who actually accepted this. That is Krishna's mercy.
Yeah.
So that's a rare soul, and that's what we then, as Nanda said, that's how we can understand this higher transcendental philosophy and experience divine love. We have to have the foundation of surrender and acceptance of Krishna's mercy on us. Thank you. Bhakti?
Sometimes I have, especially these past few months, that how Krishna examine, how we are souls, devotees of Krishna, devotees. Krishna put us in some extreme suffering conditions, like the tragedies that happen in Saranagati, for example. The whole thing blow up, how Krishna tests his devotees in that way, how to surrender, how to understand that. Like how bad things happen even to good people,
This is the material world. It is
Yeah.
a place of ignorance, it is a place of misery, and it is a place of everything's temporary. not to be trusted. We're here in the material world. That's the nature of, even Prabhupada had to experience so many difficult things. It's the nature of the place, you know, even if it doesn't seem it's worthy of my activities. Devotees humble. Why? Because he understands this is not his real place. He understands he's eternal. That's why the philosophy has to be understood fully. I'm eternal. This is temporary. And of course, while it's going on, it's very difficult, and we are tested like that because we're going to have to leave these bodies. We have to leave the body. Everybody I know before me has left their body. Well, I'm going to be an exception. This is not where we belong. Wait a minute, someone else was ready. Chaita, did you want to say something? Okay, Chaita, and then
yes,
Madhurya.
Honey, thank you. Just remembering a quote from Srila Prabhupada saying that this verse, 10:14:8, is the founding principle for all devotees.
Yeah, wonderful. Everyone should put it on their refrigerator. I've been having it on my refrigerator for ever since refrigerators were invented. So we have to put that on a refrigerator because you know you're going to see it when you open the door. Madhurya.
Yeah, it's so true what you said that when we ask the why question, why is it happening? To me, that we always think of Prabhupada, what he went through, and all the struggles that he went through. So who are we? But I just wanted to ask for clarification. I know you said it earlier in the class, but you say Krishna book text 8, for example. Is that from the Shastra Darshini text 8, or which text is that?
No, that's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14:8.
Okay, 14 was the missing part. Okay, so
14 is the chapter we're
right?
on.
Yeah, okay, I see. Okay.
I see. Maybe
Okay,
I'll start
thank you.
adding that in the text. then.
Yeah, that would help, but clarify
Okay.
that. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to go over, whoops, sorry, wrong button.
Well, this gets more and more intense. Boy, what would
Faye, go ahead.
Faye,
Faye,
Nice
did you want to
speak.
speak something? And somebody else also.
there's Madhurya, but I think
Excuse me, it's someone else. It's the hand is raised for Lily Aylan.
yeah, but
Oh,
that
she
was
already- she
Madhurya.
just said.
She just spoke.
Okay. Chaita, what did you say? Prabhupada said this is the foundation?
Yeah, I remember hearing this a couple of times that this is considered the foundational verse. For all
Foundational
devotees.
verse, excellent. Because what it does is it actually instructs the devotee how to streamline our consciousness. Whatever's happening is explained in these three different features of our emotions. One is we're waiting eagerly, earnestly. It means earnest. It means we're always hoping for Krishna's mercy upon us.
Honestly and truthfully.
Okay. Then all the while patiently suffering the reactions to past misdeeds. Regarding what Bhakti Devi asked, there's a purport which explains that all living entities in this material world have been in contact with material nature since time immemorial, and therefore each one of them is individually conditioned in a particular way. Krishna's ultimate purpose of this material manifestation is to awaken the Lord, each living entity to his or her original constitutional position as his eternal servant in the spiritual sky. So whatever happens is being directed by him, individually fashioned, especially for those who have surrendered unto him. And rather than just getting angry or becoming dejected or any of those other things, one offers their respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body. In other words, we don't become angry at him or disturbed by the activities. A pure devotee, like somebody gave the example of Srila Prabhupada, gave a perfect example of his life and the things he went through, always engaging in Krishna's service, no matter what it is. And then what happens is the whole experience becomes a personal reciprocation with Krishna rather than a focus on all the other things that are distractions from that.
Nanda,
Arrivo.
I wanted to say, Nanda, you say something first, and then I just wanted to.
I just wanted to say in the next, I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find it this quickly. In Nectar Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says, when he speaks about this verse specifically, and he says, this verse should be the guide for all devotees.
That's the one she's
that's
saying,
what-
right.
that's
Right?
what she was saying.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Very,
it
very
actually explains how we should think about things
Yeah.
that are happening to us.
good.
And
And
that's-
Prab-
and
Very nice. Arrivo.
So I was listening to a lecture, and Prabhupada was saying that we should not be envious. Someone has something more. This man is eating such nice halava and sabji, and he said chickpeas but I'm only eating chickpeas today. And, he's using all these terms that we shouldn't be envious. He said Krishna gave you this. A devotee says Krishna gave me this. So how can I be envious? This is what Krishna actually gave me for some reason, whether I understand it or not. Each one of us has that deep rasa with Krishna, even though crush me in your embrace or make me brokenhearted or I don't understand what you're doing, but you're doing it. Prabhupada said that Krishna is reciprocating. This is what he's giving me. And then means I'm satisfied with it.
Yeah,
Even
read
if
this.
The Lord certainly knows what is best for me. If I don't, even if I don't know, karma and time have no effect on a devotee. So this is Krishna's personal arrangement for me. That's perfect. That's what it is. Out of his mercy, Krishna sometimes gives me happiness and sometimes gives me distress, considering how to engage me in his service. And who are we to question what Krishna has arranged for us? Because we think we're the body. We think we're this body, and that everything that we see with our material eyes, that's what's happening to me. You're not seeing, like if you stand up, look at what happened in North Carolina. This is, we think that it is a tragedy. It's bringing out the best of people. Also, it's bringing out the best of people. People are coming from all over the place to help each other. Anyway, faith in Krishna is our whole life. Faith in Krishna.
Yes,
Hare Krishna. So, anyone else have something to add? Pati, Nanda, Acharya ji, you've been quiet for a little while. Would you like to end up for us something? I saw your little note about
nothing to
Lord Brahma.
contribute. I'm just enjoying everyone's discussion.
Hare Krishna. It's nice to see Acharya pointed out that Lord Brahma's verse was, a verse that we talked about, not this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu verse, a different one, was quoted in the second canto. It's nice to see how these things are always saying the same thing. The Bhagavatam uses itself. It's wonderful. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Ah.
Have a nice Krishna conscious week. And we're getting ready for Kartik.
Kartik starts Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for participating. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.